Water is the driving force of all nature. Leonardo da Vinci said that, and, well, it really sets the stage for our topic today. Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to break down complex global events, giving you the insights you actually need to be, genuinely well-informed. Today, we are definitely plunging deep into something critical: China's plan for this megadam on the Yarlung Tsangpo River. And, crucially, what it all means for India, our goal. To really help you get a solid handle on this, maybe you're a UPSC aspirant prepping this as key stuff for mains current affairs, maybe prelims too, or perhaps you just need to be up to speed for a meeting, or you're just curious. This is for you. We'll be looking closely at details, especially from a recent Hindustan Times piece and other sources too. And as always, we have our expert here to help synthesize things, connect the dots, and really explain why this matters way beyond just the headlines.
Exactly. It's about understanding the why behind it all, isn't it? And the potential effects, the ripples, across a region where millions live. We're talking stability resources. It's complex.
Right. So let's start with the basics. China has greenlit construction.
Yeah.
What sounds like the world's largest hydropower project. That's quite a claim.
It is a huge claim and seemingly accurate. We're talking about the Great Bend Dam planned for Tibet's Yarlung Tsangpo River. And the scale, well, it's projected at 60,000 megawatts. 60,000.
Wow.
Yeah. To give you some perspective, that's 3 times the capacity of the Three Gorges Dam, which was, already enormous.
3 times 3 Gorges, that's staggering.
It is, and Beijing frames this massive undertaking as part of its push for carbon neutrality by 2060, the price tag, around $127 billion. So it's not just about energy, it's a huge strategic investment in water resources, too, especially with climate change making resources more critical.
Okay, 3 times 3 Gorges, framed as green energy.
Yeah.
But you mentioned ripples. Why is this causing, as the article put it, serious alarm bells across the Indian subcontinent?
Well, it comes down to geography. It always does with rivers, doesn't it? The Yarlung Tsangpo, it doesn't just stay in Tibet. It flows into India, becomes the Siang River in Arunachal Pradesh. Then further downstream in Assam, it joins up with rivers like the Dibang and Lohit and becomes the Brahmaputra.
The Brahmaputra, right, a vital river for millions.
Absolutely, a lifeline for farming, drinking water, transport, livelihoods across huge parts of India and Bangladesh.
So the core fear for Indian officials, is it that China might deliberately turn off the tap, so to speak, or just having that power?
It's really about that power, the potential for unilateral control. Beijing gaining the ability to regulate or maybe even divert the flow of that essential river. And this isn't just abstract worry. We've heard directly from Arunachal Pradesh's Chief Minister, Pema Khandu. He called it an existential threat to our tribes and our livelihoods.
An existential threat, strong words.
Very. He even used the term water bomb.
A water bomb. What does that imply in this context?
It implies a couple of scenarios, both devastating. If the dam is built and then maybe releases huge amounts of water, suddenly maybe an operational choice, maybe a failure, maybe a natural event impacting the dam.
Okay.
The entire Xiang belt downstream could be inundated. Property, land, and crucially, human lives, especially impacting indigenous groups like the Adi tribe. And the flip side is the fear that the dam could hold back too much water, that the Chang and Brahmaputra could, quote, dry up considerably. Catastrophic for everyone relying on it.
And adding another layer of complexity. China isn't part of international water sharing agreements, right?
Yeah.
What does that mean for India trying to address this?
That's a critical point. It means India has very limited legal recourse to sort of compel Beijing to manage the river collaboratively or prevent harmful actions. As CM Khandu mentioned, maybe with treaties, a project like this could even have benefits, but without them, it just creates this huge strategic vulnerability for India.
Vulnerability. How so?
Well, think about it. A 2020 report from the Lowy Institute, that's an Australian think tank, warned about this directly. Chinese control over these rivers originating in Tibet. It could give Beijing powerful leverage over India's economy, its agriculture. It becomes more than just water. It's a potential tool in wider geopolitics, a really serious vulnerability.
Okay, so geopolitical risks, livelihood risks. But this is the Himalayas we're talking about, an incredibly fragile environment.
Yeah.
What about the environmental and geological red flags?
Absolutely huge concerns there. Chinese authorities give assurances, of course, about minimizing damage, but there's frankly very little clarity on the real impact, especially displacement. Remember Three Gorges? That project displaced something like 1.3 million people over 17 years.
1.3 million.
Yeah. And this Great Bend project is projected to be 3 times larger in capacity. The potential human cost, before we even get to ecological disruption like altered ecosystems or sediment flow, it's immense.
And beyond the immediate environment, what about the ground itself? The engineering challenges?
That's where it gets, well, potentially even riskier. The plan involves massive amounts of tunneling, up to 420 kilometers through the Namche Barwa mountain range.
Through mountains. Okay.
But critically, this whole region sits right on an active tectonic boundary. It's earthquake-prone, highly earthquake-prone.
So building the world's largest dam with extensive tunnels in an earthquake zone.
Precisely. It ramps up the risk enormously. And it's not just outside observers saying this. Even some Chinese experts have sounded the alarm. The BBC, back in 2022, quoted a senior engineer from the Sichuan Provincial Geological Bureau. He said, and I'm quoting here, "Earthquake-induced landslides and mudrock flows are often uncontrollable and will also pose a huge threat to the project."
Wow. If their own experts are saying that.
It certainly raises questions about the risk assessment, doesn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So given all this, the scale, the risks, the lack of treaties, what's India doing? What's the counter plan here? Because just waiting doesn't seem like an option.
No, it doesn't. And India is moving proactively. They've initiated steps for their own project, the Xiang Upper Multi-Purpose Project. This is planned as a 10-gigawatt hydropower plant, also in Arunachal Pradesh. But it's conceived as more than just power generation. It's also a strategic buffer.
A strategic buffer. So a dual purpose, how does it act as a defense mechanism?
Exactly, dual purpose. The Arunachal CM confirmed this came after talks with the central government. It's meant to serve as a, quote, defense mechanism and ensure water security. The thinking is India's dam could help regulate water availability downstream and, crucially, act as a safeguard if China does release large amounts of water suddenly. Like the CM said, if China releases water, there will definitely be flooding, but it can be controlled, meaning mitigated by India's own dam's capacity.
Okay, that makes sense. Trying to manage the potential fallout. And are local communities involved in India's project, given they'd also be impacted?
Yes, and that seems to be a key focus. The Arunachal government recognizes the impact will fall heavily on indigenous and local people there, so CM Khandu is apparently arranging meetings, trying to raise awareness, and involve the Adi tribes and others along the Xiang in the planning, acknowledging their stake, their culture tied to the river.
That's good to hear. So summing up India's approach then, what's the bottom line? Purely defense.
It seems primarily defensive, driven by necessity. The CM's stance was quite clear. India can't realistically make China see reason on transboundary water issues right now, so the focus has to be internal, on our defense mechanisms and preparations, securing their own water future, protecting their people as best they can.
Right. So let's quickly recap. We've looked at China's huge, potentially world record dam plan on the Yarlung Tsangpo. We've discussed the very real fears downstream in India and Bangladesh, fears about water control, about potential disaster, both flood and drought. And we've examined the significant environmental and geological risks, plus India's proactive strategy to build its own dam as a protective measure.
And it all really brings us to a fundamental, challenging question, doesn't it? Especially looking forward. In this era where water is becoming scarcer and so many vital rivers cross borders, how do nations balance their own development needs against shared responsibilities, environmental, humanitarian, particularly when you don't have strong international agreements in place, like in this case? What stands out to you listening to this as the biggest challenge here?
That is a critical question, a lot to think about there, and something for all of us to consider. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into a really complex and important issue, one with huge geopolitical and human consequences. If you found this discussion valuable, and we hope you did, please do like, subscribe, maybe leave a comment with your thoughts or any questions, and definitely let us know what other complex topics you'd like us to tackle next time. Thanks for listening.